free classes, tutoring with anyone who is a senior or anyone who needs any additional basic technology teaching. So that's what I'm working on, and that's why I'm here today. So I was inspired to propose this presentation because obviously during this pandemic, the COVID-19, we've all been home a lot. A lot of people have been working from home. A lot of people, especially who live in any kind of assisted living or nursing home, have been quarantined for an even longer time. And although things are kind of starting to open up again, people who are of that more of a sensitive population, they may be quarantined even longer. So it's still relevant. And of course, you never know when you could be quarantined again, I suppose. So the big answer to, how do we stay connected? My first thought is obviously technology. So today we're going to talk about some different forms of staying connected, and just a basic overview, because there's many ways. So a lot of times when you say technology, people get a little wary, like, I don't know, I can't, I'm not very savvy, or I'm not comfortable using those kinds of devices. But what I did was just kind of breaking it down. We have one of the dictionary definitions of technology is simply a manner of accomplishing a task, especially using technical processes, methods, or knowledge. And some basic technology, not every technology is like a robot or whatever. We have, pen and pencil, envelopes, using a landline phone, calculator, camera, and then of course our more complex devices, smartphones, computers, and tablets. And these things are getting, those last few, they're getting more and more user-friendly too. And there's a lot of accessibility features available to make them more easy to use and user-friendly for people who are maybe experiencing physical or mental difficulties. So just something to consider. It doesn't all mean technology doesn't always mean it's complicated. So some basic ways that we stay in contact. We have phone calls, of course, writing letters, sending email. Some things I've seen popular on social media during quarantine are these drive-by interactions, birthday parties and such, that are sort of in a parade format, so that people can get the support of the people that they know and they like without needing to actually communicate. And then we have socially distant interactions. Now we've got people wearing masks and just watching their distance when they're at restaurants and whatnot. We can make sure that we show up places by using our digital calendars and sharing events there. And then of course we have social media, the different applications that we use to share pictures, videos, articles, and of course just our basic thoughts and posts. So these are some of the normal ways. And then today we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the other ways that maybe you haven't used until after March 16th or so. Right. All right, so the first sort of, I've got it broken down into two generalized sort of categories of communication. So we've got, first we'll start with text communication. This is something that I would say is like comparable to a digital letter or having any kind of text-based correspondence in the form of the written word. And the basic ones that come to mind are first email, and then of course text messaging or iMessaging on a cell phone. And those are things Those are both things that are very basic, things that people probably use a lot anyways, for the most part. And so these are obviously the ones that come to mind first. Now, when it comes to a pandemic, there may be you may be looking for some additional modes of communication, maybe due to just wanting a faster response, or maybe based on the technology that other people are using, you want to try to kind of like match what they're doing. So first, I'm gonna take you through a couple applications that are popular for using text communication outside of the basic, email, Gmail, and then like the basic messenger apps that we have on our phones. So first one I have is Facebook Messenger. So a lot of people are familiar with Facebook. Of course, we know of it as a major social media platform. It's super common, super popular across all age ranges. Facebook is used for sharing public articles of information, videos, pictures, and then of course your own personal posts based on what you want to share. And then of course, Facebook has a lot of groups. There's one I'm a part of that's a good way to keep in touch with people in town called Galena Locals. There's ones for just the businesses downtown. There's ones for like stuff about foods pickup and different specific, all kinds of different specific types of groups that you can join on Facebook that will send you updates on information you want to know more about. So Facebook Messenger has been a part of the Facebook service for a really long time, but eventually it became a separate application while still accessible within the Facebook webpage on your computer. It's actually a separate app to download on your device so we know the Facebook logo is basically like a blue circle with a white F in it. The Messenger logo looks a little different, and it's like the one on the screen here. It looks like a chat bubble with a lightning bolt through it, basically. So that would be the logo you're looking for if you're going to download the Facebook Messenger app. Of course, if you're familiar with Facebook at all and you ever go to use the Messenger service, it will prompt you to download the app because, like I said, it forces you to, basically. So Facebook Messenger, it's a free download, free to use. Of course, Facebook, just like a lot of free applications, does have a lot of ads going on, sponsored content, that kind of thing, based on things that you mysteriously Google and it remembers, which is fine. But Messenger doesn't really have a lot going on in terms of ads. It doesn't have pop-ups or anything like that. It gets that all out on the actual Facebook page. So within Facebook Messenger, you are able to share private messages, pictures, and it also does allow you to connect with an audio call or a video call. And the important thing to know about Facebook Messenger versus Facebook, like the main Facebook, is that it is meant to be private, where when you use the Facebook application, a lot of the things that you post or comment on or even interact with posts, those details are shared with the other people that you're connected, and sometimes even with the public if you're not paying close attention. So Messenger is good to know about because if you want to have a private conversation with somebody and you only are connected with them via Facebook, this is the place to do it. Like if you don't have their phone number or whatever. So what are some reasons to use Facebook Messenger? like I was saying, you are connected with people on Facebook. So maybe that's the only way that you're connected. And you can also find people on Facebook fairly easily since it is such a commonly used application. So it's kind of a popular thing to be able to connect with people that you haven't spoken with in a really long time, maybe many years. And you come across them and you're able to, a lot of times you can send Facebook messages to people even if you're not connected with them formally on Facebook yet. So that's a good and a bad thing, I suppose. But usually good. Because of course you're in control of who you message back, or if it's someone that you don't want to talk to, you can easily lose contact with them. So yeah, not to worry about that. But many people use Facebook, and of course it connects with Wi-Fi and as opposed to cell service. So with Facebook Messenger, it's a way you can communicate with people who are outside the country. One of my friends from high school, she works in Cambodia, and the time difference is 13 hours or something. So I connect with her on Facebook Messenger once in a while, and even have video called with her through that. So something to keep in mind if you have people that you want to keep in contact with outside of the US. And Facebook, of course, is accessible on all devices. So whatever you're comfortable using, an iPad, a Windows tablet of some kind, your laptop, your desktop computer, your phone, all of these devices are accessible with Facebook. That's why it's one of the biggest services. So it's really cool that Facebook Messenger, like I say, I put it under the text category, but it does allow you to do calls as well. But I'd say, 9 times out of 10, the time I use Facebook Messenger is for a text-based communication. So that's Facebook Messenger. And again, we'll do more, I guess, formal questions at the end, but otherwise, if you have anything, we can put it in the chat and I'm checking it to answer anything that may come up. Oh, and here's an image of what Facebook Messenger kind of looks like. Again, a lot of these services are going to look pretty similar to each other. It's not super novel, but in this image, it shows where you can change your conversation to switch into a video chat mode. So it's really accessible. You can go from talking in a text communication to now we're video chatting, just like that. So they make it really easy to transition. Okay, the next application under the text bubble is called WhatsApp. Again, WhatsApp is an individual or group messaging service, and it's actually also owned by Facebook. So presumably something that started independently and then was purchased by Facebook later. But basically, it features text services. There's a phone call feature and also video calls, and you can share photos, videos, and files. So pretty similar to Facebook Messenger, but of course you don't. It's a separate service that you can belong to. So maybe you don't use Facebook per se, but you could have access to WhatsApp. So why would we use it? This is another one I've heard that's popular for people that go overseas. So again, it's calls and texts and video calls only based on a Wi-Fi connection as opposed to your cellular service or your data. So a little different if you're unable to call somebody with a regular phone tower because they're overseas. This is a good way to keep in touch with people. My friend I work with at the log cabin, he uses this app famously when he goes back to his home country overseas. So anyway, so it's free to download and use. We again don't need a Facebook to sign up, and you just sign up with your phone number and username. And again, it's accessible on all devices. So whatever smartphone you prefer, tablet, even your home computer. So again, really accessible. And here's an example. 2 images are on the screen. The one on the left is what it would look like when you're on a call with someone. And the one on the right is an example of a chat window. So again, very similar to a typical look of any other phone call application or any other texting application. All right, so moving on from text specific communication, we have, and again, both of those last 2 apps we've discussed had the capability to use video calling or video conferencing. And just the same the other way around, many of the video applications we'll talk about also have a text component or like a chat window, like in Zoom. So this is video conferencing has become really popular lately. It's really great for simulating in-person interaction when you're far away, or even just stuck in your house and not allowed to go down the street to communicate or go to work. And it's really popular. These types of services are really popular out in Silicon Valley. I worked out there in Palo Alto at the VA out there for a while, and a lot of my friends worked in the tech company, and a lot of them had basically unlimited paid time off. They could work from home very easily, and that was from using a lot of these services where they were sort of logged on. There's a chat going on all day, and there's potential for video meetings and file sharing. That's more like on the business end, but of course, this sort of need has grown immensely in popularity and just in its necessity during the recent quarantine, because of a lot of people who hadn't worked from home before needed to. So we've been adapting by using these services, and maybe people will continue to use them more when we're not quarantined anymore, because maybe it makes things easier. So again, growing in popularity in businesses, but also just among people. I've seen a lot of family game nights, like trivia, meals together. I've personally played some games with friends. There's a lot of games that have been developed for groups that are designed to be used in a video chat setting. So, and then a lot of people have just adapted them to be accessible while in this, video chat world. So again, just a lot of ways we can use these things. So, and just getting more and more creative as we need to these days. So, all right, so let's see what we got here. All right, so the first one I'll talk about is called FaceTime. FaceTime is a native application on iOS devices, which means it's included on every iPhone or iPad that you buy and start to use, including the Mac computer. The image is on the screen. It's a green button with a white video camera on it, obviously signifying that there's a video component. So within FaceTime, you can actually make audio calls or video calls within the app. And when it's on your iPhone, it syncs right to your contacts. So it is an iOS specific device. Well, that means only Apple products can access this app. So any person in your contacts in your iPhone or iPad that has an iPhone or iPad with FaceTime capability, you can video call them at any time. You don't need an additional download or registration. It's just a part of your iPhone. So FaceTime allows, typically, I mostly see people use it for one-to-one calls, just like a quick check-in or, hey, what's going on? And just want to see your face and maybe pass you around the room and say hi or see the grandkids or whatever. But it also provides a capability to do the group calls up to 32 people. So again, good to know. But it has, when you use it, it has the same layout as a phone call. So it looks very similar. And then it just has that video component, but the buttons look similar. A lot of the way you access a call is the same. So for example, on an iPhone, when you go to call someone, you may go to their contact in your list of contacts and then click on their name and then decide what you're going to do, right? So within that contact, you can click send message, audio call, or you can actually select FaceTime right from that same spot. So it makes it really easy. You don't even have to go into the FaceTime app separately. It just sends you over to it when you select that, or if you answer a FaceTime call, just the same. So pretty simple application. Now, why would we use it compared to other video chat apps? Like I say, it is easy to use and easy to initiate. You can do it right through your contacts app, just like a normal phone call. And then when a FaceTime call is coming in, it rings a little bit differently, but the answering process is just the same. You're just gonna hit the green button to answer it, basically. It is included with the Apple device, so no additional download or research is required. And again, it's connected through Wi-Fi as opposed to the cell tower. So that's why an iPad, even if it's not on a data plan, can access FaceTime. And finally, it doesn't require an additional sign-in beyond just the Apple ID, and it'll prompt you to allow FaceTime to be turned on through the settings. So pretty simple service to access. And here on this slide, we have a picture of what FaceTime could look like on an iPad, and basically similar to this, you've got your own, it'd be your own picture would be in the corner, the smaller version, and the person that you're talking to would be the bigger image, the bigger video on the screen. And then the buttons are very, very simple. The red means to hang up, and then the other are some just different settings depending on what you need to do. Okay. All right, next we have Skype. Skype, I find, is one of the first video chatting services I ever knew about. And I think that it's a very popular, pretty commonly used, especially among the general population. And FaceTime and Skype, they're kind of like, I think of them kind of like, until recently, kind of like the Kleenex version of, like taking a product name and generalizing it. Oh, we'll Skype, or oh, let's FaceTime. And maybe you're even using a different service, but it's kind of like people generally use that sometimes to refer to just like video conferencing. So Skype is now owned by Microsoft, and it is a free service as a general user with certain limitations, but there are paid packages available. So those things would increase your ability to have maybe larger calls, longer calls, more complex settings, maybe more access for someone with a business to use it. But the basic service that anyone would need to use Skype for is free, and it's included with your Microsoft account that you already have if you use a Windows computer. So that makes it really easy. Historically, you used to have to log in and like register for Skype separately. And that was like a little bit of a hassle to have an additional password and username to remember. So anyways, a little easier now that it's just your same Microsoft login. Skype allows for video calls and landline and cell phone calls, which is pretty cool. That's one of the things that requires a little bit more money depending on what kind of phone you want to be able to call. Skype to Skype calls are free, but you can actually call a traditional landline phone through Skype on your computer. So, I mean, just like a lot of options there for being able to contact anyone. They don't have to have Skype for you to use your Skype, and you don't have to have a landline to call a landline. It's pretty neat. I was just catching up on Skype and everything it can do now compared to what I used to know about it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And of course, you can read more about it on their website, or if you look into it directly. But it also allows for screen sharing, like we're doing right now, and recording calls. And then it also has the ability to ensure privacy with encryption. So that's important for people that are discussing, teachers now that are discussing student information, or medical professionals that are relaying health information, through video conferencing. So really important that they're able to guarantee that privacy, because that's like a big thing people are wary about with webcams and stuff, is like who's watching, who's listening, who's recording. So that's nice. Now, why would we use Skype compared to other services? It is available on all devices, so it's just because it's through Microsoft, you can still download it on your Apple device just the same, as opposed to, FaceTime was only available on Apple devices. So Skype is available for any device. We've got free group calls up to 50 people. And of course, that cool detail where you can call non-internet phone numbers. And the plan that they gave for just the US was going to be about $3 per month for only US calls, and they had international calls for more. But that's all on the website. And finally, easy peasy, if you're already logged in with a Microsoft account, to have access to your Microsoft Office programs. So there's no additional account that needs to be generated. And then you just plug in that same thing and it's all connected. So that makes it really easy, not another thing to remember. And I like that. And here we have also the Skype logo. I put the logo on each side just because I think it's a nice visual tool to help pick it out on your phone or in the App Store. So the Skype is traditionally this blue kind of round shape with the white S in the middle. Here we have two images of what it looks like to be on Skype. On the left, it's a chat window that also includes the times that you've called. So it lists in this example, it's hard to see, but it does list the time and the duration of your call with this specific user. And also, it's got like the emojis and the message service and sharing pictures and sharing all that stuff, just like all the other ones so far that we've talked about. And then on the right, we've got an image of two people having a call on Skype. And it's a really simple layout, really big, nice images here. I like that the two screens are the same same size. Just balances out nicely on the screen visually. And then you've got the controls at the bottom. Again, very clear, very simple, not a busy interface. And the red, again, a lot of these, the symbols do translate from application to application. So if you learn how to use one, you may be able to pick up, another one pretty easily based on your knowledge from the first. So again, we've got a red button to end the call, pretty straightforward. All right. So truth be told, I knew almost nothing about Zoom until this past March. Never used it really, had never had any reason to. But Zoom has increased in popularity immensely in the last 3 months. It's a really popular tool for people working from home, holding meetings. Again, with the casual people not working, but wanting to interact with family and friends. Really popular way to get together, to have, like, I've seen people throw surprise parties for other people, and to, get-togethers of different kinds, game night, trivia, all that, all through Zoom, because it's a really easy service to access. So it's actually been around for quite a while. It was founded in 2011 in Northern California to increase the efficiency of digital teams. And so that's like what I was referring to before. A lot of tech companies out there utilize these services all the time, to be able to work remotely whenever, wherever, and be able to be in constant contact with each other without having to be, in the office all the time. So I just pulled a couple of statistics from Zoom's website because I thought it was interesting, and I figured that the usage had increased a lot since like I said, I was one of the new downloads here, but the statistic here says Zoom daily downloads went so the number of times people downloaded the app daily in January of this year was 56,000. February of this year jumped to 1.7 million. And then March of this year, it almost doubled again to 2.13 million. So that's a lot of people downloading Zoom. And I'm guessing it probably only increased throughout the last 2 more months that we've been all kind of home, working from home. So pretty interesting. Here's another number just to illustrate the same point. So at the peak of daily meetings and Zoom's usage, we've got in December at the end of 2019, there was approximately 10 million. I'm sure these numbers only got more and more interesting to them as we were all starting to download it more. And then in March, it jumped to over 200 million, and then April increased again to over 300 million. So we can see that this stuff's really valuable to people, and on a daily basis, and people of all ages and occupations are using it. I mean, anything you can imagine. People have been really creative, interacting with students, interacting with patients, interacting with each other, doing job interviews, all this stuff. So really cool. So why would we use Zoom? Well, first point is we're already using it. Pretty nice, pretty cool that we're already using it. So we can. But honestly, I mean, I had a little trouble getting in today, and I've done a ton of Zoom calls, but I think the point is you just keep trying, never, don't give up, and you can always consult with someone to try to figure out what you may be missing, what your computer may be trying to trick you with. But we got here, so that's good. But in Zoom, I find it to be extremely user-friendly. I like, it's a simplified version of video conferencing. So a lot of these apps or a lot of these services that they use out in Silicon Valley, obviously they're like big tech people. So if we're looking for a simplified way to video chat with each other, I think that Zoom is a really accessible service compared to what else is out there. So some things that I like about Zoom, we've got the chat box. So as it turns out, just as an FYI, something like they were doing a lot of college classes and people were having in the chat box, you can have conversations that are private with other users within the larger meeting. But the thing to know about those private messages is that the host can actually see all of them. So I saw some things online about kids in college classes interacting with each other and saying stuff, and then the teacher coming back to them like, hey, just so you know, like I can see that. And so private, it's relative. The host can access all the messaging going on in the chat window, just as a heads up. But the chat window is nice. A lot of times you can share things if someone like myself is presenting and you wanted to send a chat to get to later. It's a really convenient way. And then the person who's presenting or someone who's moderating the presentation can check and relay those things since it's kind of like hard to like raise your hand and get attention in this kind of a setting. We have screen sharing. So again, that's what we're doing right now. I'm sharing with you my PowerPoint that's just on my screen. And if I wanted to, I could show you, I could show you other stuff on my computer. I could pull up my we could be creating a new like document or whatever. We could be doing all kinds of things, and you could be watching me navigate on the computer. So I could be instructing, I could show you how to do whatever you want. Go through an email, go through any kind of program within. Of course, my computer's being really slow. There we go. So anyway, screen sharing is really cool. I had never really used it before using Zoom. So I think that it is really neat. And I need to move this over. Okay, there we go. Into the PowerPoint. Okay, so the layout, a lot of times, right? We got like the Brady Bunch or Hollywood Squares kind of layout. So you see all the people all together. And again, this is common within these kinds of things, but it's kind of just fun to think of it that way, I guess. Something that I learned about it's kind of more of a work thing, but it could be applicable depending on what kind of thing you were doing for a social gathering. But you can do what we call breakout rooms. So if you were having a discussion and then you wanted to have people go out into pairs or small groups, the host can separate people into those groups and then send them into like breakout room 1, breakout room 2, and then you go there for a determined amount of time. And then when that time is up, you are automatically rerouted back to the larger group conversation. So I found that was useful while in meeting with like other teachers. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I didn't know that they could do that. So another thing I really like about Zoom is that it is really easy to connect. You can create a login, a username, and a password, but you can also just receive a link, and just follow the instructions to download the plugin and then put in your name and then you're in. So they make it really easy. You don't have to go through a lot of question and answer. I know Skype used to like ask me your birthday and all this stuff. It was like, it felt very complex, but Zoom makes it really easy. If you know how to use email, you basically can use Zoom. So something that's really nice for users of all ages, all abilities. And then of course you just need to download either the plugin, which is another, just basically means that you can access it on your computer. It's like downloading the app basically. So, and on your tablet or on your smartphone, you don't have to download the application from the App Store. Now, luckily, when you receive an email request for a Zoom meeting, it should give you a link to the meeting and then possibly has a password, but you basically click on the link, and if you don't already have what you need downloaded, it will redirect you to where you can download that, or it will start downloading automatically. And then of course we can do schedule calls in advance. So that was like the one that we had today, where Larissa scheduled it ahead of time, and then we all just showed up at the same time, entered the room, and now here we are. So there's also the ability to just spontaneously start a Zoom meeting, or a Zoom like room, you could call it. And so that's fun. I did that one night with friends, just logged in, just myself, and then started texting separately a bunch of people the link so that they could just kind of come, and then they would come and go. And the room lasts a certain amount of time for free. Unfortunately, it's only about 40 minutes unless you have something like a more premium service, which bigger entities do have. But it's something to consider. So all right. So in conclusion, the good news is, and you probably saw that with the ones we've been over today, is that many of these services are very similar in what they offer. The best service for you is going to depend on your device and your comfort with the layout and your ability to navigate what you need to do within the app. And remember that a lot of apps and services provide a lot of different things within the app, but you may only need a basic version or one component. So you just want to stay focused on what's easiest for you, what works, and if it does a lot more than you need, find a way to ignore those other complexities and just focus on the basic call or the basic message. And then of course it probably depends on who you need to contact and what they like to use. So for example, a lot of jobs have been utilizing using Zoom to have meetings. So that's why I got on Zoom, was because I had a job that required it. And so I learned how to use it for that reason. And now I know how to use it when I want to utilize it for other purposes as well. So maybe your family members are all dedicated Apple fans. So, maybe they all like to use FaceTime. And so you kind of adjust based on who you want to contact. So just something to think about with that. And then of course, there are a ton of other apps and other services similar to the ones we discussed. Some are very popular as well. And a lot of them are more driven towards like teams, like work groups and meetings. getting dried out from talking. So some other similar services we have is Google Hangout, Microsoft Teams, something called Slack. And then on the casual front, we have Snapchat. Snapchat's a really popular app amongst, I mean, a lot of people, but typically a younger population. It's an app where you can exchange pictures in a very quick way. And of course, we have Instagram, another popular app where you exchange pictures, post pictures, and then there's a private messaging component within both of those apps. So just infinite ways to stay in contact. If you're able to be comfortable with exploring these types of apps within your device, some things to be wary of are the issues of privacy, especially when you're talking about recording or the ability to record. Make sure you're aware and know how to see if someone's recording, or which part of the app is private and which part of the app is more public. And that just takes a little bit of time and exploration, maybe a little Googling or a little consultation with someone like myself. So nothing to be scared of, but just something definitely to consider when putting any information online or your identity online in any way. So that concludes my overview. We have a lot of time left here, lots of time for any questions, comments, about 10 minutes here, I guess. So I don't have anything in the chat window, so I don't know if anyone has anything. Otherwise, if not, I have my information here. So I'm available. My phone number, my email is here. I have a website, and feel free to contact me if you have questions about this presentation or anything similar. I'm happy to discuss or have a private meeting sometime.
Does anybody have a question for Allison at all? Does everyone know how to unmute or use the chat window? If not, then I guess we'll end the conversation here.
It's a little different. It's a little more awkward in these situations, but you do get used to it with time. And of course, just takes practice, just like anything else. Yeah. My final recommendation is just to not give up, because it is complex, but doesn't matter your ability or your perceived ability. We're all kind of trying to figure it out together. So.
Okay. Looks like you got a thank you from Carol Sullivan.
Nice. Oh, thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, so we'll end it there, I guess. Allison is doing another program next week, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah, next week. So given my background in blind rehabilitation, I've just been really thinking a lot about the way that some of these regulations within the quarantine may be affecting people with low vision, and then people with hearing disabilities or hearing loss or maybe physical ailments that may be more difficult for them to follow some of the new guidelines. So next week, I'm going to lead hopefully a discussion on ways that we can maintain empathy towards others during a time where things are sort of tense like it has been, and give people try to give people the benefit of the doubt, because we don't know what anyone's going through. So more to come on that next week.
All right. And that registration link can be gotten through me if you want to email me, or it's on our Facebook page with the event. So if you're interested in that, just let me know or hop on Facebook and sign up through there. All right.
All right. All right. Thank you guys. Thanks, Larissa.
Yeah, thank you, Allison, for doing the program, and thanks to everyone who came. And it is archived on Facebook. I was live streaming through Facebook, so it's there on our Facebook page if you want to go back and see any other part of the presentation. And I guess we will end there.
Okay. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Have a great day. See you next time.